Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I want to share a little page with you in my new Art by Marlene journal. And this page has a little bit of everything. So it's got altered stamps, it's got collage paper, it's got grunge, it's got the whole lot. So I really, really love this little sun faces stamp set from Marlene, particularly because it has this face in there. And I know that I will get so much use from a face stamp. I really, really love putting figures on my pages and having a girl face in particular, on my spreads. So I wanted to use this face a little bit differently today and see if I could turn it into a more human-shaped face rather than a sun-shaped face. So what I did is I grabbed out an extra piece of watercolor paper and I've put ink on my stamp, and then around the features of the face, there's quite a harsh black line, obviously because it's a sun, and I've just wiped that away with a baby wipe. Then I went in and I drew in a normal face shaped, I guess, oval could be the shape. I don't know, it's a face shape. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to color these faces with my watercolors from Marlene. So I've got this, it is a skin tone, but it felt a little bit pink. So I'm just adding a touch of blue into there to make it, I guess, a little less pink. I can't really explain to you the exact color or why the blue helps, but it does help. Then I'm going in with some of the purple, just a tiny bit, and I'm going in and I'm just doing a little bit of shading just on the sides of the nose, around the face, just under the lip there. So I'm kind of thinking of the light shining directly on the girl's face, and I'm just shading according to that, and I've ended off with a little bit of white just on that T-zone and a little bit on the cheeks there. I'm going to give it a dry, and then I realized I forgot the eyes and the lips. So I'm quickly going to add some color in the eyes. I think I made them all different colored eyes, or maybe I made them all blue. I don't know. And then pink lips, of course. And now you can see that one face stamp has actually turned into 3 different personalities. They're all same, but different. And that is something that I really, really like to do, is I try to get as much use of my stamps as possible, because I obviously don't want to use a stamp set just once. I feel like if I had to do a page with a sun or a moon, then that would be the page, like there's only that much that I feel I can do with it. I know that people out there can do amazing things, and that's wonderful. But for me, I don't relate to being a moon face, but I can relate to being a girl on a page. So, and that's a lot of the times, that is what my journaling is about getting rid of feelings that's relatable to me, things that I'm feeling. So oftentimes the girls in my pages represent me or somebody that I know, or, something like along those lines. So I've taken some leftover sheets of collage paper from Marlene's cut and paste block, and I'm just cutting rough dress shapes for all these girls. It's just a really rough, like, arch, and I'm making them different heights as well. And I've popped them to the side, and now I'm going to work on my background. Excuse me. So the previous page that I did, I had these split pins, I think that's what they're called, to keep my faces onto my page and to make them interactive. But those pins are quite big and chunky because my little ones, I'd run out of the little ones. I didn't have enough, so I had to go with the bigger ones. And I'm going to try and cover these pins and then try and blend them into the page so they're obviously not that obvious. So first off, I did go over them with some masking tape, and now I'm just going in with some of Marlene's black and white collage paper, and I'm gluing that down with gel medium. So first off, I'm doing a layer of gel medium on the paper itself, on the page. Then I put the paper over the top, and then I seal it off with my gel medium, just whatever's left on my brush. And I'm going to give all of that a quick dry. So I did that. In the end, you won't see all that much of the collage paper, but I really wanted to cover the pins. So I know some people don't like the fact that people put layers down and then cover over it, but for this page in particular, I wanted to cover those pins, the back of the pins. And now I'm going to start building my background. So some of the background will still be showing in the end. It's not all lost. There is some, if you look closely, you can see those layers popping through. But for the most part, I just wanted to cover the pins. Okay, I've gone in with Azure in 3 places, Mermaid in 3 places, and now I'm finishing up with Breeze. I really fell in love with this color during the March color challenge. I'd never used it before then, but it is such a beautiful color. It works really, really well with Mermaid and Azure because they both have those green tones in them. And it also obviously will work well with a green page or with green elements. It's a really pretty color. I do enjoy it. So I've given it a quick dry and just stuck down some of the little bits that's been lifting. And now I'm taking this new stencil out. This is called, it's not Hexagon Star. Hexagon Stars were the previous release. I think it's also Hexagon something. I'm sorry, I actually can't remember. So I've gone in with Breeze and I'm going in with Kermit. I've also realized that Kermit plays really, really well with Azure and Mermaid. They complement each other really well. It's such, I don't know, I think it's just a really pretty combination. I normally don't work a lot with greens, so they make me wildly uncomfortable. But this Kermit paint is actually really pretty. And yeah, it does combine well with other colors. I think it's because it's maybe not such a green, It's not like in your face green. It's nice. I like it. And a little bit of mark making with Kermit. And then I'm also going to go in with mark making with that Breeze, just pushing my paint brush into the paint and then smushing it down onto the page. I am overlapping my mark making, so where I've gone in with the Kermit, I'm not afraid of going over that with the Breeze because it just adds a little bit more dimension and interest and more layers. And we all know I'm all about the layers. Giving that a dry because I know that it's very likely that I would put my arms through the wet paint and we don't want that. Now I'm going to go in with some stamping. I'm taking the grungy texture stamp, and this one with these jumbled up letters it's one of my favorites. I really, really like it. I'm going in with black, and now I've got some green paint, and I took another one with like dots there, and I'm just over stamping. I'm stamping until all the ink is finished off of my stamp, so it's like those ghost prints. And now I'm going to start working on these girls, giving them all a little trim. What I wanted to say is I did glue them onto some watercolor paper just to make them strong enough to, you know, be lying around if I don't use all of them. At this stage, I was going to use all of them. It also just makes them easier to handle if they're on a little bit of more sturdy board. And I'm faffing about to see what I'm going to do. I really wanted to use all 3 of them, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So while I was figuring out what I'm going to do, I decided to put this border stamp down. This is also in the Grungy Textures stamp set. And actually, I like that one of those configurations, but I couldn't quite get it right again. So I decided in the end to just go with one, and I'm just going to extend that border a little bit just to make sure she's got a whole place to stand on and not just half a place to stand on. I'm going to add a little bit more shading using my texture stamps. I love this little line of squares. I think they are squares. They're a little bit rounded, so I think you actually call them, maybe you call them squircles because they're like a square circle thing. But I think that's my ultimate favorite one in this set. It's such a dainty, pretty little thing, and you can use it both ways. So you can use it sideways and upright, and both ways look really nice. So I've stamped out that little stamp just to make a little bit more darkness behind my girl, and I'm going to sketch in some hair. And then the real question was, what color hair would she have? And I did have a think about it for a minute there. And then I decided I will do purple hair because she's got those purple tones in her dress. So I thought that the purple would stand out against the blue background and with those greens in. And it also picks up a little bit from her dress. So I'm coloring it in with, not coloring it in, I'm painting it in with lavender. And I'm going to go in with some darker shades, royal, just to add a little bit of dimension. And I think I go in with fuchsia as well, just to create some interest and depth into that hair. I'm using the very tip of my paintbrush to get these finer lines that look a little bit more like hair strands. All right, I think I went in with Kissy, that's right. And you can see just how it all comes together. The more strands of hair you add, it starts looking a bit more like hair with every layer, even though it's purple. But let's be honest, I'm sure we'd all love purple hair. I know I would certainly love bright colored hair. Okay, now I want to add a little bit more darkness around my girl to make sure she stands up and out from the background. So I'm putting some pitch paint down with my finger, and I'm just putting my stencil over the top and wiping away with a wet baby wipe. And this just adds a shadowy effect, but it's not very harsh. It's there, but it's not a big black blob. Like if I had to just leave it without doing that reductive stenciling, it would definitely be too harsh, and it would actually hide a lot of my background. And I really didn't want that to be happening. Now I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of detail into her face. So I'm just going over the lines that Marlene has already drawn there. I did use, obviously, the watercolors, but even with the watercolors, if it goes over the lines, it does dull that blackness away a bit. So I'm just trying to bring that back in again. And what that also does is it kind of trains my hand to be able to draw a face. Maybe one day eventually I'd be able to draw a pretty face like Marlene's dolls always have. But for now, I'm quite happy to just go over the stamp. Adding some pink cheeks, and I've also added some white highlights and black line work into that hair. And this is me just faffing around, just adding some dots and line work here and there until she kind of comes alive and until everything looks like they work together. Going to add some glow paint onto this rose because I wanted to just make it a little bit brighter. So glow is the neon green in Marlene's range. And whenever you add neon over the top of something, it just boosts the color. So it's not going to change the color, but it is going to just make it brighter. So I always say it's like you're putting a filter over a photo on Instagram. It's exactly the same effect that you get when you put a neon color over the top of what's already there. It just makes it a little bit brighter and happier. And I'm also going to redefine some of the white lines that were in that rose. And that just really pulls the girl out from the background and makes her a bit more of a foreground feature when the background is nice and dark and she's a little bit brighter. I did go around her with a black pen, but then I thought I'd go over the black with the white as well. And it seems a little bit pointless to do that, but in actual fact, when you look at the page, the white lines and the black lines are both there, and they both add to the effect. Right, that collage paper at the background had these dots in, and I actually really liked them. So I'm just drawing over the top of where they were, and then I'm adding a few more just with my paint pen from Marlene, giving it a dry, and then I'm going to go in with Marlene's lace paint just straight from the tube, and I'm going to make some dots in there. This just adds a little extra element to the page. Maybe it's a little bit unexpected, something fun and interesting to look at. And now I'm looking for a quote. I think my quote says, when your past calls don't answer, you're not going that way, I think. And then I'm outlining it with my paint pen, just a scribbly, scratchy outline. And right at the end, I decided that that bottom strip underneath her was looking a little bit bland, like it needed just a little something. So I'm faffing about a bit to find out what I would use. And then in the end, I decided to use that same stamp set again. There are two little birdies in there, like two silhouettes of birds. And I'm just going to stamp a row of them like they look like they're flying just underneath that shelf that she's sitting on. And that is it for my page. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you if you have subscribed already to my channel. If you have not, please do so, and please leave me a comment as well. Let me know what you think of the page. Let me know maybe what color hair you would have given her, and I will chat to you again soon. Bye.